The message arrived on a Tuesday. Not through diplomatic channels, not through the Galactic Trade Commission, not even through the emergency war frequencies that every species monitored with trembling appendages. It came through the Children's Educational Network. A simple text file, transmitted to every school, every learning pod, every nursery across 14 star systems. Humanity has been accepted into the Galactic Council. Congratulations on your new neighbors. The Zalithian High Command stared at the message for 17 minutes before someone finally spoke. This has to be a mistake. It wasn't. Commander Zek'tar of the Zalithian Defense Fleet had been monitoring Earth for 3 rotations. Standard protocol. New species discovered, surveillance initiated, threat assessment compiled. He'd seen it all before. Primitive civilizations barely capable of interplanetary flight, usually wiped out by their own weapons before they became a problem. Earth should have been simple. Status report. He barked into the comm as his ship, the Dominant Claw, held position just outside Earth's detection range. Still, confusing, sir, came the hesitant reply from Lieutenant Vexhal. They're simultaneously launching peaceful exploration missions and building weapons capable of planetary annihilation. Zek'tar's 4 eyes narrowed. Elaborate. Well, sir, yesterday they sent a probe to study Jupiter's moons for potential microbial life. Today they tested a kinetic bombardment system that could crack a planet's crust. And they're doing both projects with the same enthusiasm, sir. The scientists working on the life detection equipment are genuinely excited about finding bacteria. The weapons engineers are equally excited about their new planet cracker. Neither group seems to see any contradiction. Zek'tar felt his gill slits flutter with unease. In his 40 years of military service, he'd never encountered a species that pursued knowledge and destruction with equal passion. Any communication attempts? They've been trying to contact us for weeks, sir. Radio transmissions, laser pulses, even launched a small craft in our direction with what appears to be gifts. Gifts? Music, mathematical equations, images of their young, and detailed schematics for something called a nuclear fusion reactor, sir. Zek'tar's claws scraped against his command chair. They were offering both art and weapons to complete strangers. What kind of species does that? Sir. Vexhal's voice carried a tremor. There's something else. The humans have detected our surveillance. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Impossible. Our cloaking technology is, they sent us this, sir. The main screen flickered to life. A human face appeared, young, with pale skin and small, forward-facing eyes that somehow seemed both friendly and predatory. The creature smiled, revealing flat teeth that should have indicated a herbivore, but something in those eyes suggested otherwise. Hello, the human said in accented galactic standard. We know you're watching us, and that's totally fine. We're curious about you too. We've prepared a cultural exchange package and loaded it onto a small craft. It should reach your position in about 6 hours. Fair warning though, some of the food might be a bit spicy for your biology. We included antacids just in case. The transmission ended. Zek'tar stared at the dark screen. They knew about the surveillance. They didn't care. They were sending gifts. With medicine. For potential digestive issues. Sir, orders. Zek'tar's mandibles clicked nervously. Monitor the approaching craft. Full scans. If it shows any signs of weapons or hostile intent. Sir, it's broadcasting music. What? The craft, sir. It's transmitting what appears to be their cultural music. Multiple genres. Some of it is quite aggressive. On cue, the bridge speakers crackled to life with something humans called heavy metal. The grinding, screaming sounds made several crew members instinctively reach for their sidearms. But Sir, Vexhal continued over the noise, they're also broadcasting something called lullabies. Apparently, they're songs they sing to their offspring to help them sleep. The music switched to something soft, melodic, almost hypnotic. Several crew members visibly relaxed. They make war songs and sleeping songs, Zek'tar muttered. And they think we might want to hear both. The human craft arrived exactly on schedule. No weapons, no shields, no aggressive maneuvers. It simply coasted to a stop a respectful distance from the dominant claw and began broadcasting a message. Package delivery. Please scan for safety, we completely understand. Contents include food samples from various Earth cultures, mathematical and scientific data, artistic works, historical records, and a complete guide to human social customs. Also, we threw in some entertainment media. Hope you like movies. Zek'tar authorized the scan. The results made his blood run cold. Sir, the food samples, some of them contain compounds that would be lethal to most known species. Weapons? No sir, they appear to be recreational consumables. The humans eat these toxins for pleasure. The accompanying notes suggest they enjoy the burn and love the challenge. Zek'tar's gill slits clamped shut. They poison themselves for fun. The entertainment media is extensive, sir. Thousands of hours of something called movies and television. Initial analysis shows a concerning pattern. Explain. They appear to simulate their own destruction repeatedly, sir. Alien invasions, nuclear wars, natural disasters, zombie apocalypses, robot uprisings. They create fictional scenarios of their species' extinction and enjoy watching them. They entertain themselves with their own annihilation. Yes, sir. But sir, there's more. In every scenario, no matter how hopeless, some humans survive. And they fight back. Even when facing impossible odds, they never surrender. Zek'tar felt a chill run down his spine. Never. Never, sir. Even in their children's entertainment, when facing creatures with superior technology, magic, or cosmic powers, the humans find a way to win. Usually through some combination of cleverness, stubbornness, and what they call, the power of friendship. The power of, what? They bond, sir. Form emotional attachments that make them stronger. They have a saying, no one fights harder than someone protecting their family. Zek'tar's claws dug into his armrests. The humans were either the most naive species in the galaxy or the most dangerous. Possibly both. Sir, incoming transmission from Earth. Put it through. The same young human appeared on screen, but this time she wasn't alone. Behind her stood dozens of others, all different sizes, colors, and apparent ages. All smiling. Hi again. We hope you enjoyed the care package. We were wondering if you'd like to meet in person. We've prepared a small delegation. Just a few scientists, artists, a chef, everyone's really excited to meet you. Oh, and we brought our best negotiator, just in case there are any misunderstandings. The camera panned to show a small child, perhaps 8 or 9 years old, holding what appeared to be a primitive drawing. This is Lucy. She's 7 and she drew you a picture of what she thinks you might look like. She's hoping you'll be friends. The child held up the drawing. It showed stick figures labeled aliens and humans holding hands under a smiling sun. Zek'tar stared at the image. They were sending a child. A child who wanted to be friends with creatures she'd never seen, from a species that could annihilate her planet. Sir. Vexhal whispered. Orders. Zek'tar looked around his bridge. Hardened warriors, veterans of a dozen conflicts, all staring at the screen with expressions he'd never seen before. Fear, yes, but something else. Something softer. Tell them. He paused, his voice catching. Tell them we accept their delegation. The meeting took place on a neutral space station in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. The humans arrived in a ship that looked like it had been cobbled together from spare parts and determination. It shouldn't have been able to make the journey, but somehow it did. Zek'tar waited in the docking bay with a full security detail. When the airlock opened, he tensed for anything, weapons, tricks, some kind of human deception. Instead, Lucy stepped out first. The small child looked around the alien docking bay with wide eyes, still clutching her drawing. She spotted Zek'tar immediately and walked directly toward him without hesitation. "Are you the commander?" she asked, looking up at his towering form without fear. Yes. I brought you this." She held up the drawing. "I had to guess what you looked like, but Mom says it doesn't matter because friends come in all shapes." Zek'tar stared down at the small creature offering him artwork. His security team was frozen, unsure how to process a diplomatic situation involving a child. "Thank you," he managed. Lucy beamed. "Do you want to see our ship? We built it ourselves." "Well, the grown-ups did, but I helped with the fun parts. We have games." Behind her, the adult humans emerged. They looked nervous but determined, carrying bags of what appeared to be more gifts and cultural items. The lead diplomat, a woman named Sarah Chen, approached carefully. "Commander Zek'tar, thank you for agreeing to this meeting. We know this is unusual, but we believe the best way to avoid misunderstandings is through open communication and cultural exchange. You brought a child to a first contact situation." Lucy volunteered, Sarah said simply. "She represents our hopes for the future better than any of us could." Over the next several hours, Zek'tar learned more about humanity than 3 rotations of surveillance had taught him. They were contradictory, impossible, wonderful, and terrifying. They showed him their art, paintings that captured both beauty and horror, music that could make you weep or want to fight, stories that explored every possible human emotion and experience. They shared their food, some bland and safe, others so spicy that Zek'tar's eyes watered, all prepared with care and offered with genuine desire to share their culture. They explained their science, how they'd gone from primitive tool use to spaceflight in less than 1,000,000 years, driven by insatiable curiosity and refusal to accept limitations. And they told him their history. "We haven't always been united," Sarah admitted as they sat in the station's observation lounge, watching Earth slowly rotate below them. "We've fought wars, made mistakes, done terrible things to each other and our planet. But you survived." "We learned," she corrected. "Every mistake taught us something. Every war showed us the cost of conflict. Every disaster proved we're stronger together than apart." Lucy had fallen asleep in her chair, still clutching her drawing. Zek'tar found himself staring at the child, trying to understand what she represented. "She's not afraid of me," he said quietly. Should she be? The question hit him like a physical blow. Should a child fear him? In Zalithian culture, the young were taught to respect the strong, to fear potential threats, to submit to superior force. But Lucy had looked at him and seen a potential friend. "Your species confuses me," Zek'tar admitted. Sarah smiled. "We confuse ourselves most of the time. That's part of being human. You're not the strongest species we've encountered. Not the most technologically advanced. Your weapons are primitive compared to the hegemony. Your ships are barely functional compared to the Confederation. True. But you're the first species that's made me question whether strength is the most important quality for survival." Sarah was quiet for a moment. "What do you think is?" Zek'tar looked at Lucy again. Adaptability. Hope. The ability to see potential friends instead of automatic threats. And stubbornness, Sarah added with a grin. Don't forget stubbornness. Despite himself, Zek'tar found his mandibles clicking in what might have been laughter. The report Zek'tar filed with Zilithian High Command was unlike anything in their archives. Species assessment, humanity. Threat level, unknown. Recommendation, extreme caution, but not for conventional reasons. He detailed their contradictions, their simultaneous capacity for creation and destruction, their illogical combination of curiosity and caution, their tendency to form emotional bonds that made them both vulnerable and incredibly dangerous. They are not the strongest species we have encountered, he wrote, but they may be the most unpredictable. They do not follow standard patterns of development, expansion, or aggression. They appear to operate on principles that prioritize adaptation and cooperation over dominance. But it was his final paragraph that would be quoted in alien military academies for generations. Most concerning, they have the capacity to make other species care about them. I have never encountered a species capable of generating protective instincts in potential enemies. Recommend immediate cultural exchange programs to better understand this phenomenon. Within 6 months, every major species in the galaxy had established diplomatic relations with Earth. Not out of fear, but out of curiosity. The humans were invited to join the Galactic Council not because they demanded a seat, but because everyone wanted to understand how they worked. And slowly, the galaxy began to change. The hegemony's military doctrine, built on intimidation and superior firepower, started incorporating human concepts of hearts and minds campaigns. The Confederation's trade practices evolved to include human ideas about fair dealing and mutual benefit. Even the notoriously xenophobic Crystalline Collective began allowing limited cultural exchange programs. It wasn't that humanity conquered the galaxy through force. They did something far more dangerous. They made the galaxy want to be better. Years later, in a bar on a space station orbiting Proxima Centauri, 3 alien officers sat sharing drinks and stories. A Zilithian commander, a hegemony general, and a Confederation admiral, species that had been enemies for millennia, now united in their bewilderment over humanity. They've been part of the Council for 5 years now, the Confederation admiral said, tentacles curled around her glass. I still don't understand them. Today, the hegemony general rumbled, a human child sent me a drawing. A drawing. Of me and her playing something called hopscotch. She had never met me. She lives on a planet I could obliterate with one command. And she sent me artwork suggesting we should be playmates. What did you do? The Zilithian commander asked. I kept it. It's on my desk. They drank in silence. My species ruled through fear for 10,000 years, the Confederation admiral said finally. It worked. It was efficient. It was logical. And now? Now my own offspring ask me why we can't be more like humans. They want to make friends with their food before they eat it. They've started naming their spacecraft instead of just numbering them. They've begun creating art. The hegemony general nodded slowly. My people have started telling stories. Before humans, we only recorded facts. Now we create fiction. We imagine possibilities. We dream. They're changing us without even trying, the Zilithian commander whispered. Not through conquest or conversion, but through example. Is that good or bad? None of them could answer. But across the galaxy, in ships and stations and planetary colonies, alien children were learning to draw. Alien artists were learning to dream. Alien leaders were learning to ask, what if we tried something different? And somewhere on Earth, Lucy, now 12 and dreaming of becoming an interspecies diplomat, was working on a new drawing. This one showed humans and aliens not just holding hands, but building something together. A galaxy where strength wasn't measured in firepower or fear, but in how many different kinds of beings could call each other friend. It was a child's dream. It was becoming reality. And every alien species in the galaxy whispered about the humans with a mixture of terror and hope, because they had done the impossible. They had made the universe want to be kind.